You're listening to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. I'm your host, Calandra Martin, intuitive brand designer for spiritual entrepreneurs. The Magnetic Boss Podcast is where visionaries come together to openly share wisdom and authentic conversations. I know that you are ready to leave your legacy in the world and become sought out in your industry. I also know that you are sick and tired of getting overlooked. You're ready to have a magnetic business. I'm here to help you create your magnetic brand. It's my mission to help you show up confidently with a professional, irresistible online presence. If you're in this for the long game and all in on the big vision you have for your business, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Magnetic Boss Podcast. I am so excited to dive into today's episode. This is a topic that every entrepreneur needs to be aware of, whether you are at the point in your business where you're ready to outsource your brand and hire a designer, hire a brand designer, or you are in the DIY stage still and you're really trying to pull up your bootstraps and make this thing work. I want to share with you today the signs that you need to rebrand, the indicators that are going to tell you whether or not it is time to really allow yourself that up level, allow yourself to present your business to the world, to your audience in a very different way. And a lot of fear comes up around this for entrepreneurs. If you are not well practiced at making really big decisions and really well practiced at failing forward. So I just want to start off by saying that if the idea of a rebrand in your business sounds terrifying, know that that is completely normal. But what I've learned as an entrepreneur is that when you take fast action, when you make these big power moves in your business, that is actually when you get the most reward. Whether you see the success that you're looking for or not, you're always going to learn the lessons. So if you are feeling this pull, this calling to rebrand in your business, I want you to ask yourself, what is the worst thing that could happen, right? If you have an audience that is loyal to you and your brand, if you have audience members that are following you on various social media platforms, you have clients that you have worked with already, I want to reassure you that even if you were to rebrand and things didn't go out the way that you were planning, there is still that very strong possibility, I have no doubt in my mind, that your people will still be there at the end of the day. So before I share the signs that you need to rebrand with you, I just want you to know that if this is calling you, if you are thinking about this, it is for a reason, right? We have these ideas in our mind. We see the possibilities because they are meant for us, whether it's now or a few months down the road or in a couple of years. Just know that if you have this thought, if you have this inclination to rebrand, it's because you are meant for more. So there is definitely this mindset shift that has to happen in order for you to take this leap. Okay, so that's what I wanted to start off by saying. Now, I have 3 signs to share with you today that you need to rebrand, and I'm going to go at these in no particular order. So one of these things may resonate more than the other, and that is totally fine too. So the first one that a lot of entrepreneurs will recognize first and foremost, because it will be glaringly obvious in your business that you need to rebrand, is recognizing that your business has become stagnant. And I don't necessarily mean that you are not making sales, that you're not making money in your business. You can absolutely be making money and also feel like something is off. Feel like the energy in your business, the way that you are representing your brand, don't match up, right? So maybe you're saying one thing and presenting your business another way. And when you find that common ground, when you find that harmony between your brand and the work that you are doing, it becomes really powerful, right? You have that momentum, you have that excitement and drive in your business. But if you are feeling stagnant, when you think about your brand, when you think about the visuals that you're sharing and the way that people are perceiving your business, then there is a really good chance that it is time for you to level up, to switch things up, and to add that icing on top of the cake that is really going to help you feel that confidence in your business, feel that confidence in what it is that you are sharing, whether that's on social media or on your website or anywhere else that you are promoting yourself. Stagnation is one of those things that entrepreneurs can get stuck in. And I know that I've been in this place before where your mind is telling you that if you just keep trudging through and you keep doing the thing that was working before, that somehow the script will flip and things will work out in your favor again. But I want to encourage you again to go back to the mindset shift that I shared at the beginning of the episode, reassuring you that even if you do change things, the worst that could happen is that you put in the work and you still have to change things again, right? Maybe you have to go back to what you were doing before. Maybe you have to make a couple of updates to your website. But if you think about the best outcome, the best possible outcome for rebranding your business is that you move out of this feeling of this stagnation and you instead start gaining that momentum again, gaining that excitement, showing up in your business and really just rocking it, right? So I want you to, when you're thinking about rebranding and you were looking at stagnation, make a list, grab a piece of paper. If you're not driving right now, grab a piece of paper and on one side, write down all of the reasons that a rebrand would benefit your business. And on the other side of the paper, write down the things that you have fears around. Write down the things that you are concerned about and see if the pros outweigh the cons, right? See if the fears are really just these voices in your head telling you a story that you can't do what you really want to do. And these things may be coming up for a number of reasons. We always have these mindset shifts to be making as entrepreneurs that go deeper than just, I want to have a pretty website and I want to present myself on Instagram this way, right? It goes deeper than that. It's really about looking at your own self-acceptance. It's about thinking about the confidence that you want to exude in your business and asking yourself why you don't feel worthy of doing that now, right? Why don't you feel worthy of embodying that now? Because chances are the stagnation is a result of these thoughts and is paired with feeling out of alignment with your brand, especially when it comes to your visuals. Which brings me to sign number 2 that you need to rebrand, and that is that your brand doesn't match your current goals, intentions, or the direction of your business. Now, this one is especially relevant right now because we are at the beginning of a new year. And what a lot of us are doing is looking at the trajectory of our business for the year ahead. So you might be thinking about the income goals that you have for this year. You might be thinking about the publications that you want to be putting out into the world or partnerships that you're wanting to create. Maybe you're thinking about the type of client that you want to be working with. If any of those things have changed from now to a time previously, whether it's in the last year or the last couple of months, maybe even yesterday you decided, I'm going to change things, right? I'm going to switch things up in my business. My offer suite is going to be different. My ideal client is going to be different. If any of those factors in your business have shifted, you always want to be looking at your brand. And this is something that I always teach. Anytime I am talking about branding with clients, anytime I am sharing branding tips inside the membership, this is something we revisit, and we revisit this for a reason, right? Because your brand is not something that you create one day and you just set it and forget it, right? It's not a crock pot. Your brand is not a crock pot. You don't get to just throw in the ingredients, turn it on low, and let it simmer. You have to be really, really intentional about the ways that you are showing up and representing your business to the world. And when it comes to your visual branding, your messaging, the way that you are marketing your business, all of these are factors that are going to change anytime something in your business changes. Which leads me directly into sign number 3, and that is that you have simply outgrown your brand. This is something that happens so often because as entrepreneurs, as creatives, as visionaries, we are continuously evolving. The last 2 episodes of this podcast were speaking to the evolution in your business. So with that in mind, knowing that you are going to evolve, it is inevitable that you will outgrow your brand. And I can say from experience that this happens so often. And it is why it is really important to have a close relationship with your brand and to really understand the ins and outs of your branding. So when I work with clients on their brand, when we work inside the brand incubator, we look at these foundational pieces before we create the visuals, before we design the website, because in order for your brand to really hit home with your audience and to feel sustainable for you, you have to be looking at your values. You have to really understand what your intentions and your goals are for your business in this moment, in this season, and understand how that may transition over time, right? So that when you outgrow your brand, you know what changes might need to be made. So for example, in my business, I will tell you a funny backstory here. If you are new to the podcast, if you haven't heard my story before, I started out in the online space as a health coach in a network marketing company and transitioned into life coaching for moms, which then transitioned into virtual assistant work for mom entrepreneurs. And that then transitioned into working specifically with spiritual entrepreneurs and visionaries and creatives. Now, this natural evolution happened over the course of 2 to 3 years. And in that time, looking back now, there are a lot of indications that I was ready to outgrow my brand, but I was trying to push water uphill, trying to make things work because I thought that was the way to do it, right? I thought, well, everybody else is doing it this way. I see so-and-so posting this. And so I had this idea, this story in my head that I had to stay in one place. I had to remain with the branding that I had in the very beginning of my business, which looking back on that now, I'm a little mortified, right? I don't put my first brand, the visual branding that I first did for my business, in my portfolio because it's like, looking back on it, I think, wow, a 3rd grader did that, right? It's anytime you look back on your growth, you're like, wow, okay, that was me then, that is not me now. I think about this with my copywriting sometimes too, when I think about my social media posts and the ways that I share my message. That has evolved over time too. And so what happened in my visual brand was that I had these very soft, very feminine, very artsy, cutesy visual brand elements, right? My colors were these light purples and blues and greens. They were very earthy. They were very heart-centered, which is great, right? That is a aspect of my personality, but it is not relevant to the way that I serve people now, right? Because the way that my business has evolved is that I have grown confidence in myself. I've grown confidence in my authority and my expertise. And in order for me to level up in my business, in order for me to start working with professional business owners who were ready to make high-level investments in themselves, I had to shift the message, right? I had to shift the way that people perceived my business. And that meant redoing the visuals. Now, when you think about my visual brand now, at this current time, which I'm sure will evolve 100 more times, and there have been at least half a dozen iterations of this in the last 2 years, my visual brand now is much more direct. My visual branding, while it is still feminine, while it is still speaking to creative women in particular, right? I have my spiritual elements of my brand that come through in my purple watercolors and my gold sparkles. there is also this sense of knowing who the hell I am and what the hell it is that I do, right? There is a different energy about my brand based on the visuals that I share. And in order for me to make those tweaks, it was very subtle over time. So when you're thinking about a rebrand, I want to reassure you that, one, like I said before, it is okay to outgrow who you have been in the past. That does not make your current brand wrong, right? It doesn't make it something bad that you did, right? You're not fucking things up because your brand looks a certain way right now and is presented a certain way right now. Because the beauty of it is, when you go through this process of rebranding, of starting a new chapter, right? Entering into a new season of your business. What is exciting about this is that your audience gets to come along with you for that journey. And I get this feedback from clients and just from audience members a lot, where they come to me and they say, I am so glad that I followed along. It has been so much fun to watch you grow and evolve in your brand, because they too can see the shifts that have been made. Right? They get to feel like they are a part of this evolution, that they are along for the ride. And that is where you not only allow yourself to build authority, to have that professionalism, but you also get to create this camaraderie with your audience where they feel involved. And that is what makes or breaks a business. If you are speaking into an empty room, you're not going to make sales. But if you are building connection with the people in front of you, then it's inevitable that you're going to make those sales. It's inevitable that you are going to grow and scale your business. So I want to just give you that permission slip that you get to change anything in your business anytime you want to. Now, we want to be intentional here. We want to be strategic. I don't want you to just burn your business to the ground and toss it in the fuck it bucket and say, well, this isn't working. I've been doing this for a week. It's not working. So let me just try something different. I've done that and it does not work. It leads to burnout. It leads to a huge dip in sales, and it leads to a confused audience. So what I want you to do when you think about the rebrand process is to really identify what your audience, your client's experience is. What does it look like right now? How are they consuming your brand? And what do you want them to feel? I say this all of the time. You'll hear me say this in probably every episode of this podcast. How do you want your audience to feel when they're interacting with your brand? If that is not matching up, right? If you are noticing the stagnation in your own energy, in the way that you're showing up in your business, if your brand isn't matching your goals, intentions, or direction for your business, or you're feeling like you've just outgrown your brand, your values have changed, or you're ready to scale, if any of those things don't match up with what you have now, there is a good chance that your audience is going to feel lost. Your audience is going to be confused. Your audience is going to lose interest, right? And none of these things are what we want as entrepreneurs. So this is really a call to action for you to identify, how are you ready to level up this year? How are you ready to really start taking action and implement on your vision? Because I know that you've at least done a little bit of work, a little bit of thought around what it is that you want to accomplish this year in your business, how you want to serve, what your mission is. And once you have an idea, a general idea of that, you can then compare that to, create a Venn diagram if you need to, what your brand is doing now. How is your brand really steering your business in the direction that it is going in? Okay. And I want to give you one final bonus sign that you need to rebrand. I have this on my notes here and I cannot forget it because it's an important one. If you are somebody who has DIY'd your way through your brand up until this point, right? Maybe you have created some graphics in Canva. Maybe you've taken some inspiration from Pinterest. Maybe you've purchased some things off of Creative Market or Etsy or whatever it might be, and you're kind of just piecemealing together your brand. That is a good sign if you are feeling fired up right now and you're like, oh, I need to make some changes. ooh, it would be really amazing if I had that professional, really cohesive brand that speaks to my audience, that speaks volumes to my authority and my expertise. I encourage you to consider what it would look like if you had somebody there to support you in this process. Because whether you have hired support in your business or not, it is pretty much common knowledge in the online space, in the world of owning a business, that when you have support, you are able to accomplish so much more. You are able to really allow yourself to be in your zone of genius, to be that visionary, to be the person that paints the pretty picture of the vision. And then you get to hand that off to somebody else to execute on, to implement, to create something that people can see and feel and understand thoroughly. So if you have been that DIY queen up until this point, that might be a good sign that you need to rebrand. Okay, so I'm getting fired up here. I want to give you the Cliff Notes version of this episode. I also want to invite you to share inside the Magnetic Boss Collective, our free Facebook community, where you are feeling on the scale of 1 to 5. Where are you feeling you need to rebrand, right? Are you feeling 1, not super convinced that it's time for you to rebrand, or 5, you are so sold on this rebrand process, you need to take action right away and you're not really sure where to start, right? Because I want to open up the conversation for a Q&A in there. We will continue to have this conversation, answer these questions, because like I said, this evolution is inevitable. You are going to reach a point in your business where a rebrand is necessary. Okay, so the Cliff Notes of this episode. Number 1, you are feeling stagnant. Something feels off in your business. Your brand does not match your current energy. You are feeling like you've hit a brick wall when it comes to sharing your business in the online space. 2, your brand, your current brand, is not matching your goals. Maybe you have new intentions, you have a new direction, you have thought about new ways to be sharing your business in this new year, and the brand that you currently have just doesn't match up. And then 3, which goes hand in hand with this, you've simply outgrown your brand, right? Maybe your values have changed, maybe you're ready to scale, you're ready to have those professional publications, you're really ready to have that cohesive look, that polished look in the online space. You're wanting people to recognize your name. You want to stand out in your industry, but your brand doesn't match up. That is a good indication that it's time for a rebrand. And then the bonus tip that I have for you is that if you are DIYing things and you're feeling like it's time to really stop pulling at strings to try to get this thing to work and you want support, then consider it is time to rebrand and to get help in that process. Okay, so I hope that this episode was helpful for you. I want to keep it short and sweet today. I also want to encourage you, if it was helpful, for you to share this episode. It really, really helps us with growing this show. So go ahead and take a screenshot, tag me on your Instagram, share it with a friend, with a biz bestie, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you are listening so you never miss a beat. For episode show notes, visit calandramartin.com/podcast. Your iTunes reviews and your sharing of the show helps us reach more magnetic bosses just like you. Until next time.